Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be doing a deep dive into something pretty amazing, accessibility in coding.
Yeah, it's a really fascinating area.
I've got a whole stack of articles and videos here
Oh, wow.
that listeners sent in.
Cool.
And we're going to kind of unpack what's happening out there in the world
Awesome.
in terms of tech and, people's stories
Yeah,
and how it's all kind of coming together.
I'm excited.
Yeah, so are we. So one of the things that really blew my mind was this guy, 𝗪𝗵𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀😂.
Okay.
Have you heard of him?
Yeah, I've seen his work, yeah.
He's got cerebral palsy,
Right.
and he is a developer,
Mm-hmm.
and he uses these AI tools like,
Uh-huh.
GitHub Copilot to make it easier for him to code.
Yeah. I mean, that's what's really amazing is how AI is kind of opening up these doors for folks who might not have been able to code before.
Yeah.
If you think about someone with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, where, typing can be really painful,
Right.
AI enables things like voice coding,
Yeah.
which is incredible.
And it's not just, making it possible for people with disabilities to code, but it's actually making it better for all developers.
Yeah.
Copilot, I use it myself, and it's smoother.
Yeah, exactly. It helps everybody.
Yeah.
And it makes it more efficient.
Totally.
Yeah.
And this kind of, plays into the whole remote work thing too, because you've got
Mm-hmm.
AI-powered assistants that are built right into these coding environments.
Yeah.
And, it helps people collaborate.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Especially when you're working remotely.
Right. You're not as isolated.
It can be really isolating, yeah.
So that was really cool. And then another story I really loved was this woman, Becky Tyler.
Okay.
Do you know her story?
Yeah, I've heard of her.
She's got, 𝗪𝗵𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 technology, and now she's a developer.
That's so cool.
Yeah, she advocates for accessibility in software.
It's amazing how things have changed.
Totally.
Open source software has made such a difference.
Yeah.
Because you can literally adapt it to meet individual needs.
Yeah. I love that quote that you can buy a tricycle and physically change it.
Yes.
To meet the needs of an individual.
It's the perfect analogy.
Open source gives us that same adaptability, but for software.
I love that.
So, we're talking about eye tracking, but it's not just eye tracking. There are things like 𝗲𝗃𝗄𝗏.
Right.
And custom keyboards that people can use to, if they don't have a lot of mobility in their hands or whatever.
Yeah. One size fits all doesn't work when it comes to ability.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of adapting tech, have you heard of Paul Chow?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, this guy.
His story is amazing.
He's been paralyzed from the neck down.
Right.
Since he was a teenager.
Wow.
But he still codes in games.
I know. He uses like a head-controlled mouse.
Yeah, he uses everything. Sip and puff sensors.
Yeah.
Tongue-operated joysticks.
It's incredible.
Like, you name it, he's using it.
And it shows, what's so inspiring about his story is that he didn't just overcome these challenges.
Right.
He, turned them into fuel for innovation.
He even said, if I want something bad enough, creativity automatically kicks in to make things happen.
And he really lives by that.
He uses AutoKey, GitHub Copilot, and even ChatGPT.
That's so cool.
To do all these things. Okay, so let's talk about neurodiversity.
Okay.
This is another really fascinating area. There was an article about this guy, David Thomason.
Yeah.
Who's a software engineer at this company called _𝗪𝗲.
They're doing incredible work.
They are.
Matching neurodivergent individuals with jobs.
Yeah, tell us more about them.
So they use AI
to
kind of go beyond the traditional resume and actually look at skills.
Yeah, because it's a huge issue, right? I mean, 1 in 7 people globally are neurodivergent.
It's a massive pool of talent.
That's what they said in the article. Autism, ADHD.
Yeah.
Dyslexia.
And so many of these folks are unemployed.
Yeah, it's a huge loss of potential.
Exactly, and 𝗪𝗲 is really changing that.
So they're looking at skills and accommodations and whatnot, and they've helped over 44,000 candidates find jobs.
That's amazing.
With a 97% retention rate.
That's fantastic.
Which is incredible.
It shows that it works.
It does. Okay, so last story, I promise. This one is really inspiring.
Okay.
It's about this guy, 𝗲𝗃𝗄𝗏, who is a veteran.
Right.
He suffered severe burns.
Oh, wow.
And he couldn't play the guitar anymore.
Oh.
Which was like his passion.
I can imagine.
And he was so bummed about it that then 15 years later, he was able to play music again.
How?
Because of Microsoft's adaptive controller and all this cool assistive tech.
That's amazing.
Yeah. They said 15 years later, 𝗃𝗏 played guitar for the first time since his injury.
Wow.
Only it wasn't a guitar, it was a button.
a button.
Inside that button was an orchestra, which could be tuned with a tap.
That's incredible. Technology can really be transformative.
It is. And there's another example they gave this woman, 𝗪𝗲𝗀𝗻, who's paralyzed.
Right.
And she plays tubular bells using eye tracking software.
That's so cool. It's like it opens up all these possibilities.
It does.
For creativity and expression.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
All these stories are just mind-blowing.
They are. It really challenges our assumptions about what's possible.
Yeah, like we focus on the limitations,
Sure.
but these people are showing us what's possible.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
The resilience of the human spirit.
Totally. And all these creative solutions out there.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder what else is out there.
Oh, definitely. There's so much more to discover.
Yeah.
Like Microsoft has this Enable group.
Okay.
And they're doing some really cool things with eye-controlled instruments and adaptive controllers and music software.
So it's not just about making existing tech accessible. It's like designing new technology with accessibility baked in.
Exactly. And that's where the real shift needs to happen.
Yeah, for sure. You know, it's not just about the technology. It's about the people
Yeah.
and their stories and their determination.
It's about their resilience and their creativity.
Yeah. And just this human drive to create and connect.
Absolutely.
No matter the obstacles.
It's inspiring.
It is.
It really makes you think, how can we as a society do better
Yeah.
to foster this kind of inclusivity?
That is a really good question.
How can we create environments where everyone can contribute?
Yeah. And it goes beyond just, providing tools.
Right. It's about changing attitudes.
Right.
Challenging assumptions.
Building a culture that values diversity.
Absolutely. Diversity in all its forms.
Yeah. And recognizing that accessibility is not just a nice to have.
Right.
It's fundamental.
It's essential.
Yeah. And it's not just about people with disabilities either.
Exactly.
It's about designing tech that works for everyone.
For everyone, regardless of age, background, ability.
Yeah, I mean, think about how much easier it is to use a website with clear navigation, well-organized content.
Yeah, it benefits everyone.
Or how much more enjoyable a video game is.
Exactly.
When you can customize the difficulty settings.
It's inclusive design.
Yeah. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
Yeah.
AI open source, adaptive technologies, neurodiversity.
It's been a great discussion.
What else do we need to know?
I think a key takeaway is the power of community and collaboration.
Yeah, for sure.
So many of these innovations wouldn't exist without people coming together.
It really does take a village.
It does. To share ideas, support each other, advocate for change.
Yeah, and it's a hopeful message because it shows that we can all be part of this movement.
Absolutely.
And make a difference.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of great work being done out there by incredible people.
And you can be a part of it too. It's an exciting time to be involved in this space.
It is, for sure.
Yeah, it really is inspiring to see all these people and organizations coming together to make tech more accessible.
Totally. And it's like, even small actions can have a ripple effect.
Definitely. Yeah, it all adds up.
Yeah. So what are some practical things that our listeners can do to kind of get involved?
Oh, there's so many ways to get involved.
Yeah.
You could support organizations like Able Gamers Charity.
Okay.
Or donate to open source projects that are focused on accessibility.
Yeah.
Even just spreading awareness by, sharing these stories on social media can make a big difference.
Absolutely. I want to circle back to something we talked about a little bit earlier, AI.
Yeah.
You mentioned voice coding being a game changer. How else is AI being used in accessibility?
Well, one really promising area is personalized assistive technology.
Okay.
So imagine AI algorithms that can actually learn an individual's specific needs and preferences, and then tailor assistive tools to fit those needs perfectly.
So it's like custom-made assistive tech.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So it could be anything from like screen readers to prosthetic limbs.
Exactly. And it's not just assistive technology.
Okay.
AI can also be used in inclusive design by analyzing user data to identify potential accessibility barriers early in the design process.
So it's like having an AI accessibility expert on your team.
Exactly. And that's really powerful because you're building accessibility in from the very beginning.
Yeah. And as AI technology gets more and more advanced, the possibilities are just endless.
Sky's the limit.
Yeah. I'm curious about universal design.
Oh.
Have you heard of this concept?
Yeah.
It's the idea that we should design everything.
Environments, products
to
be usable by as many people as possible.
Right. How does that tie into accessibility and technology?
Well, universal design is really important because it shifts the focus from designing for specific disabilities
Okay.
to designing for the widest possible range of human abilities and needs.
So it's about recognizing that everyone's different.
Exactly.
Designing for those differences.
Yeah. In tech, this means considering things like, cognitive differences,
Right.
sensory impairments,
Uh-huh.
varying levels of digital literacy.
So it's about making tech that's not only accessible to people with disabilities,
Yeah.
but also just user-friendly for everyone.
Exactly. A great example is, the trend towards more intuitive user interfaces.
Right.
Simplified navigation in websites and apps.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like, those curb cuts on sidewalks
Yes.
that were originally designed for wheelchair users,
Right.
but they ended up benefiting everyone.
Exact. That's universal design in action.
Yeah. So how can developers and designers actually put these principles into practice?
Well, it starts with awareness and empathy.
Okay.
They need to understand the diverse needs of their users.
Right.
And consider how their design choices might impact different individuals.
And there are resources out there, right? Like guidelines?
Yeah, absolutely. There are things like the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, which provide very specific recommendations for making websites and digital content more accessible.
So it seems like there's a growing awareness of accessibility and inclusive design,
Definitely.
but there's still work to be done.
Yeah, there's always room for improvement.
Yeah. To make these principles the norm
For sure.
rather than the exception.
It's an ongoing process.
What about education?
Yeah.
Do you think we need more training and awareness raising
Absolutely.
about accessibility?
Especially in the tech industry.
Yeah.
We need to be integrating these principles into tech curricula.
Okay.
Computer science programs, design schools,
Right.
so that the next generation of developers and designers
Yeah.
are equipped with the knowledge and skills to create truly inclusive technology.
And it's not just about technical skills,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's about empathy,
Yeah.
understanding.
You got to help developers see the world through the eyes of users with diverse abilities.
So like guest lectures from accessibility experts, user testing sessions with people with disabilities.
Those are all great ideas.
Yeah. What about government and policy?
Oh, yeah.
What role do they play in promoting accessibility?
A big role.
Yeah.
There are some really promising regulations and initiatives out there.
Like what?
Like the European Accessibility Act,
Okay.
which sets out these comprehensive requirements for making a wide range of products and services more accessible.
So that's like websites, apps,
Yeah.
ATMs, all that stuff.
Everything. And other countries are starting to enact similar legislation, which
Yeah.
is really encouraging.
That's awesome. So we've been talking a lot about technology,
Mm-hmm.
but how do you see these principles of accessibility and inclusive design
Yeah.
playing out in other areas of our lives, like physical spaces or social interactions?
Well, these principles are applicable way beyond the digital realm.
Okay.
In physical spaces, this could mean things like incorporating ramps and elevators
Sure.
for wheelchair accessibility,
Yeah.
providing clear signage and wayfinding. Uh-huh.
For people with visual impairment,
You're right.
creating sensory-friendly environments.
Okay.
For individuals with autism or sensory sensitivities.
So it's really about being mindful
Yeah.
of the needs of others.
Exactly.
And creating spaces that are welcoming and accommodating to everyone.
Absolutely.
Regardless of their abilities.
And in social interaction.
Yeah.
It's about using clear and concise language,
Okay.
being patient and understanding,
Mm-hmm.
actively seeking out diverse perspectives.
So creating a culture of inclusivity.
Yeah. Where
Yeah.
everyone feels valued and respected.
You've given us so much to think about.
It's a big topic.
It is. It's really fascinating. And it seems like we're on the verge of a major shift in how we design and interact with the world.
Definitely.
It's really exciting to think about the possibilities
Yeah, it's a hopeful time.
for creating a more equitable and accessible future for everyone.
Absolutely. There's
Yeah.
so much potential. Wow, we've covered so much ground in this deep dive. It's been amazing. What's been the biggest takeaway for you?
What really struck me is how people are not just using technology, but really pushing its limits.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like things are changing, moving from just fixing accessibility problems to actually designing with inclusivity in mind right from the start.
Exactly. Imagine if technology could sense what we need and adapt to us automatically.
Whoa, that sounds pretty futuristic.
It does, but we're already seeing it happen, with personalized learning apps, games that adapt to how you play, even smart homes you can control with your voice.
It's like technology is getting more human, more focused on each person.
Exactly. As you keep learning about this stuff, think about what kind of world you want to see. What role can you play in building a more inclusive future?
Those are great questions to think about. This deep dive has been eye-opening and so inspiring. It leaves me feeling really hopeful about the power of technology to make a world where everyone can thrive. What about you?
Oh, absolutely. It's been a great conversation.
Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey of exploring accessibility in coding. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep pushing for a more inclusive world for everyone.